Marvel and Hasbro made this deal. Jim Shooter, the editor-in-chief at Marvel at the time, developed the backstory for the Transformers, which is still in use today, basically, still the basis of everything that's come since then. He wrote the backstory, and then he went to a senior Marvel editor to develop the characters, because the initial toy line had 26 toys, 26 different characters that were Transformers. Some good guys, some bad guys. So he needed somebody to go through those characters, see what they did. You know, Transformers, as I'm sure everybody out there knows, are basically robots that transform into, you know, they're kind of humanoid robots that transform into vehicles or weapons or any number of things. So, but the initial line was mostly different kinds of land vehicles and flying vehicles. So. So he went to one of our most senior editors at Marvel at the time, and for whatever reasons, his work was found wanting. So, somewhat in a panic, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief at Marvel, came back to the editorial offices, you know, after he had reviewed this material and decided it wasn't a good fit, and he asked other editors if they could try to develop these toys into characters. And he went to, I think the first person he went to was the same editor who developed G.I. Joe, Larry Hama, and for whatever reason, Larry Hama turned it down. He went to a couple of other editors who had experience writing, and for whatever reason, they turned it down, and eventually he came to my office, and I said, sure, I'll give it a try. I was known more as an artist editor, not a writer editor, so I wasn't an obvious choice. But in any case, so as I recall, it was sometime about midweek, about a week before Thanksgiving of 1983, and the 26 characters had to be named and personality profiles had to be written over that weekend so they could be submitted to Hasbro that Monday or Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So basically I had, I don't know, 4 or 5 days to do the work. And I did it. I did it over the weekend. I turned it in. And my boss read it. He liked it. He submitted it to Hasbro. They liked it. You know, we tweaked it here and there. But that's how I initially got involved with the Transformers. You know, I was a young editor. You know, it sounds like some TV series. the young editors. But I was I was editor at Marvel for a few years. This was an opportunity, and I thought, well, this is good. You know, I mean, I'm trying to do more and more things and learn more and more things and get more and more experiences to kind of add to my skill set. So I'll take a swing at this. You know, I'll give it a try. And you know, the fact that I might have been the fourth choice, I didn't feel any kind of insult that was implied in that. You know, so I just said, you know, I'll give it a crack. And I guess whatever I came up with measured up for what people were looking for. So toys, licensed properties in general, I think, as I could agree with what Larry Hama was considering, which was, you know, they weren't mainstream Marvel. They were like, oh, somebody else has an idea, and Marvel's gonna do wonders with it, or Marvel says they're gonna do wonders with it, and you know, it's a paycheck, and somebody will pay somebody to develop this or that. And yeah, there was definitely that attitude. I probably had some of that attitude also. But I also looked at it as, well, hey, somebody's giving me an opportunity to write something. Let me prove I can write, that I have that kind of imagination and those kind of skills. So, and then as Transformers kind of took root and developed further and became a big success, then I realized, well, I've carved out this little pocket universe for myself to play in. I don't have to be worried about the last 200 issues of Spider-Man and what happened in Spider-Man. I just can do what I want to do in Transformers, up to a point, that is. And that became quite an exciting opportunity to be involved in that sort of a situation where I wasn't beholden to everything else that had preceded Transformers like I would be if I was working on a regular Marvel comic book with a regular Marvel character.